All right, let's pick up where we left off. So we're looking now at Christoph's place, and we want to, of course, change the material here. And we'll add a material, and we'll call it Christoph's farm. And we'll take that material, and we'll change the color to something that we think will work for that. And then we'll go down to the alpha and bring it down, but we also have to change the blend mode to alpha blend. And that way when we bring the alpha down, then we can see through it. All right, now in Christoph's farm, we also have in a shapefile layer the solar array. And that's just a point. And it's supposed to show where it is on the landscape. It looks like it's a little distorted here, depending on how you look at it. So I'm looking at there, look at it from the orthogonal view down, and it makes more sense because I don't know in this landscape, see it's below the landscape, that's the problem. So it didn't pick up that elevation data. So now it's too high. Let's hit G and bring it down. Let's see, bring it down on the landscape, and let's try to zoom in on it. And see, so the shapefile is, Christoph's farm is on a hill. When you get this clipping, by the way, that's inconvenient disappearance down there, that's found in the view, and you have to change the clipping to something like 10,000 meters or whatever, and change the clipping there down to almost 0. And then you can see it better. So the solar array is going to be on the landscape somewhere there. And knowing that we've come from the GIS map into there, we can now put our solar array. And we have a great little search function now that we put in called, what is this called here? It's one of our plugins now, and I'm blanking on the name, so maybe look at my preferences, and let me go to my add-ons and see what Blunder Kit Online Asset Library, that's what that is. So the Blunder Kit, see, Blunder Kit Online Asset Library has this ability to let us go online and find things. So if I put solar array in here, and a bunch of these come up, and you can pick the one that looks most like what you're trying to do. So his is more like a ground mount. It doesn't look quite like that, but you know, 6 kilowatt, his is a 3 kilowatt, there's 3.6 kilowatt. So let's drop that in and let's see what happens if we put it down here. I'm assuming it's one, there it is. Panel structure, there's the structure, and then we move it in G. And let's see where our Christoph's farm sustainable, yes, it's the solar array. Yeah, so we're pretty much on target there with this array here. So if we move it over to the other dot and rotate it, oops, it's got a messed up origin, so let's do like that, and let's see if we can, what's it doing there? It's underground, well, it's on the ground actually, and it's facing the wrong way, but let's see if we rotate it in Z. So the origin's like really messed up on this thing. Let me see if I go to the structure, will it set the origin to the geometry? Or there's the structure, like what is this? That doesn't even move anything. So it really must be this. And then if I rotate that, yeah, I can do that. Rotate that in the Z-axis. Then I'm using this dot here, which is from QGIS, as the reference point for putting a solar array onto the landscape. That's what we're aiming to do. the shape file itself, of course, is there just so we can sort of see what's going on in the landscape. And I guess I'm going to have to rotate that in Y and bring it down and rotate it in Y some more, so that we know where his land boundaries are, but because it has a contour, you're not really going to see it. But we'd see it anytime we put it on. So we can play around with that. Ultimately, these are just references. It's almost like an empty object. And what we really want is just to create the landscape, because these things don't really exist. And even if we made it completely transparent, so let's say we brought the alpha down to nothing, which is a little better. Yeah, then we can always look at it and go, okay, that's the region of Christoph's farm, and that's where the solar array is that we picked up. Similarly, when we are going to, oops, my battery's running low. Why is that? Oh, let me plug something in here. Hold on a second. So now, when we go IBC tank for the biodigester, it is unlikely that this database has it. No, they don't. If I say tank, it doesn't have a different kind of tank. If I say tote, yeah, I don't think we're going to have it. IBC, nothing, water tank. There's several different things. So this is where you go to other sources. So for example, if I type in IBC tank model, and IBC tank free model, IBC 3D models from Sketchfab. So let's try, too many requests, what's that? There we go. So here's, I've got a login for Sketchfab, so I think you should get one too. But just being able to grab a paletted IBC like this one or this one. So let's just download this one here. And you can do it as a blend file, or you can do it as a GLB converted file. That's 2 megabytes. That's 20 if you do the big one. We don't need it, so we'll do a GLTF. So if we download this, right, and then we go to Blender, and then we will find the place here, and you can see the locations here for them, because that one there is the Doug's farm, and then in here this point is the main IBC tank, and this point from QGIS is the gas holder. So using those as reference, we then go and import a GLTF and look in our downloads, which we just pulled in, and there should be, let's see if we can do date modified. New. All right, so we have to see where we actually got that Sketchfab model. Let's just accept all those. Where did it download to? So let's see. We hit download. downloaded the GLTF. And it should have come down here. And if we show in folder, it's in downloads, but it's a different downloads, TH-Culhane downloads. So let's bring it in from this TH-Culhane documents and downloads. See if it shows up in here. Maybe I have to look for it. Container. It's not showing up. Shape files, Dresden. Date modified. Date modified. So where did it go? Downloads. Well, we know from here that it's in there. Maybe we just have to unzip it. Yeah, that's probably what we have to do. It doesn't show up to Blender till it's unzipped, so we extract here. And then, after it has extracted itself, still not doing it. 7-zip maybe. Extract here. Just all.
Get them away from there.
And let's see now. Still ain't showing up. In that case, I think I'm going to cut this and go to a different folder. I'm going to go to 3D Objects, and I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to unzip it, extract files to container tank. Okay. Now there it is there, and it has a scene, it says, so that's weird. So let's see if I go to 3D Objects. Do I even have 3D Objects here? Where's my 3D Objects folder? Users, and then 3D Objects is there. Let me make that a favorite. Bookmark that, that's not a bookmark. Drag that into bookmarks, no? So there's that. Okay. Now let's see if I import it, what happens to it. So if I go and hit the period key, there it is. Okay, it came in. Came in over there. So it's got a lot of points in it that we don't want. So let me see if I do a Control J. That doesn't do it. I'm going to take this IBC and, well, you know what? Maybe I will use all those points because I can grab it from here. And that point is the root of the Sketchfab model. So if I grab it from the root and then go to the overview and drag it over to here, and let's see. What is it doing? I don't do that to me.
You want swing?
No. That's the solar panel. And we drag it over there. But where is my Sketchfab root here? There it is. Okay. So I'm going to, it's way below the universe. So I've got to GZ it and bring it up here underneath the world. And now bring it down. And let's see now. Okay, so
Daddy.
keep bringing it down. Whoops. Yes, no.
Daddy, here.
Thank you.
Eat that?
Yeah, thanks. Right. So we're getting closer. And now we bring it over to here. And of course, it needs to be on the landscape. So that's good. And then there's going to be another one, Shift D, not that, of this. Not Doug's farm, but of the whole IBC tank. There's the big IBC tank. Here it is, the sketch fab model, the root. I'd have to do the model and then Shift D it and make another model and then move that model.
I need that one.
So I get confused about when something's bundled like that. So I'm going to delete that. Somehow, it's a sketch fab model, the root, and the scene. And it sort of makes me feel like I really should bundle this thing up, because if I don't, it becomes really hard to move all these parts around. So I'm going to try to Control J it. No, that's not letting me do a Control J. Sometimes when you're trying to join parts of the model, you have to select things like there's the tank, and then Control click, Shift click, and there's the lid, and then do a Control J. Now they're one object, as you can see. And then you can grab the bars and try to select as much of that and Control J that, but it doesn't always work. It's like I can take that bar there, and that one's put in there. So you have to select each of the objects and then join them in as one object. And it's a pain to do. So once you've created a model, you want to kind of stick with your model. So there's that one, and that one, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And I'm going to join them together, and then you can see that it's not all joined. So I got that. That I need to join, so I join those together. Now I got still parts of the cage that aren't joined. I'm going to join those, Shift click, make that part of one model. So now I got that, but I still got that part that's not all joined. So you spend a lot of your time trying to get these models all joined up. And that's where grabbing this thing by the root, that's supposed to help lift it up, but it's probably going to be beneficial for us to make one big model out of this whole thing. And another thing I'll do is lift this up in the air and just select the whole darn thing. But something's wrong here. It won't let me. Okay. I go up in the air, and I go transparent, and then select it. That may have worked a little better. Because then what I'd love to be, that's one object, and then it can be moved around. Then I want to get rid of all this. Whoops. So you can't do that. Control Z. You have to somehow deparent this. So I think it's Control P, that's set parent to, it's Alt P. So if I select this and I go Alt P, then it's clear parent, keep transformation. So now it should be, I'm able to delete that point. So we just have one IBC tank there. Now that I have that IBC tank, I can bring it down onto the landscape. Now look from my top view. And I need to get back into the shaded mode. I got an IBC tank on that point. Now I can Shift D to duplicate it and put another one there. And then I have the ability, once again, taking this landscape here and making it invisible or getting rid of the alpha so that on here? The alpha is really low. Material 1. It should be alpha blend, right? So it should make it, there we go. So you can hardly see it. But when you come down to the actual landscape, you see that these are there. Indeed. You start populating. Now the house should have come in. So that's what's confusing me, is that normally when I go to GIS and I say, and I select the entire landscape like this, if I tell it to bring in the OSM and I say buildings and I say elevation from object, I usually get it. If I don't, that didn't do anything. If I say import OSM and get buildings and do elevation from object and tell it that I want it from this object, then I should get it, and I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it anywhere. And that's pretty disturbing. But we know it worked the other day, so we're just trying to figure out what's making it not work today. Let me go to a new scene. And to go to a new scene, I can add a scene. And let me just try something again to see if buildings are not coming in at all. So I'll go to the base map of Google Satellite. And I wish that this would let me not use Web Mercator when I come in. But if I come in here once again and I hit G and I say Geo.
The sun is working there.
Come into this area here. And if I come into a village like Chirol, so let's use the village of Chirol, and come in on a certain part of Chirol, which would be like where the cathedral is. Let's see if I can even find that. There's a swimming pool. Should know this city pretty well by now. But I want to come to the area where the church is, which looks like this area here. I'll just go to this area, and from there, I hit E to get my area. And if I go GIS and I get the OSM, I say building, and say the elevation object is this, then strangely enough, nothing came in. And I've never had this happen. So there must be something wrong, like something must be broken. If I go to my Blunder GIS and I open it up, I'm supposed to do the Open Topography API key. That's what I'm supposed to get it from. And then the building. It's not telling me that. So it's supposed to be doing WGS like that. Reset previous effect, so it's that lap on. Cache folder seems to be there. And I have the right API. And if I didn't have the right API key, then when I went to get OSM and I decided to get land use and leisure and natural and waterways, then those wouldn't come in. So those are coming in. So why are we not getting the buildings? Buildings and highways, building extrusion, make the height bigger, but no buildings are coming in. Well, ain't that a bear? Because if you're doing Blender OSM, but here's a different way to do it. If you want to import, I'm going to select a region. If we did this and we said, okay, I'm going to select Ferme de Lavo. There's a bunch here and none of them are the right one. So once again, I'll have to go to DO and find my way from DO up to where we're supposed to be, which is here, and then go to the rectangle and select our area along with Christoph's farm. So we're going to go like that. That's going to be our area. Then we're going to copy those coordinates and go back to Blender and paste those coordinates in, and then go to bring in the terrain first. And I really want to get rid of this GIS thing because it's a mess. In fact, I got to get rid of all these things because they're not relevant anymore. All right, so I have this terrain, and on that terrain, I'm going to import an image overlay from ArcGIS Satellite or from Mapbox. Use Mapbox because I have that, and we'll download the tile image. It's taking its sweet time. And just got to wait for that to finish. Sometimes it does take a while. The thing about Blossom is that Blossom doesn't let you work with shapefiles. So I tend to use Blender GIS. And I don't know how to make the Blossom or the Blender OpenStreetMap files and the GIS files work together because it doesn't give me information about the projection. So we're almost done here. 14 to 121, there it is. So there's our area once again. And then on top of that, I can then bring in the OpenStreetMap information and import buildings, water objects, forests, etc. Default roof shape can be gabled, and level height can be brought down a little bit, and then import it as a single object. If we don't, then it'll be separate objects, which is advantages because then we can move it around. And it's going off of the terrain, and so I say import. And then we have the buildings, see? And we have all this other information. So if I then take all of this entire thing, then I should be able to bring that over to the other scene. I can't remember quite how to do that. You can, let me look that up. Copy assets from one Blender scene to another. Not one Blender file. Copy average between scenes in Blender.
Data between scenes, if necessary. Ensure the objects to be copied across are also available. Click Make Links, Objects to Scene, and select the scene to which objects are to be duplicated. On checking the secondary scene, the objects duplicated will be visible. It's important to note when doing this that it creates a series of linked duplicates. Changes to one mesh affect all across all scenes. Where this needs to be changed, objects will need to be made unique or single user. So select the object, and from the Object menu, click Make Single User, then select the appropriate option for the data type that's needed. This individualizes the object, making any changes specific to that instance. Then select, and from the Object menu, click Make Links, Objects to Scene, then select the scene to which objects are to be duplicated.
Okay, so in other words, we take all of these objects, go to the Object menu, and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this the Blossom scene, and then I'll call the other scene, I call this GIS scene, Blunder GIS, Blunder GIS scene. All right, so we're going to take this object from the Blossom scene, go to Object, and we are going to link. Where's link? He said you go to links. Link. He said you go to link. I don't see link. It's all. Asset. How can asset? Link to collection. No. Link transfer data, link objects to scene, and okay, link it to the Blunder GIS scene. So that now, it should have worked. So if we go into the Blunder GIS scene, it's there, right? So, oops, not quite. There it is underneath. Okay. So we have this, and we go, if we can just grab this. So somehow it's attached to this scene. We don't want that. What is this relationship with that then? So maybe I need to Alt-P this. And I can select just this. And what is that point there?
No.
So that point no longer is relevant. So I should be able to now take this and move it up.
No. See, we need to take him to the RV. He's hurting Finn.
All right, now did this map on properly?
No.
Hardly.
No. Let's put 9.
This is not geographically
Let's put 9.
accurate at all. And yet the buildings are there. So as I move this around, it's really funny to see what we've done wrong here, because the size is all wrong as well. And if I go to the top view and say, okay, what are we doing here? We're bringing that piece there into there.
I want Rebecca, Mama. I want Rebecca. Get Rebecca, Mama.
So we're getting closer to something that kind of works. We could just use Blender, obviously, Blender OpenStreetMap, but like I said, Blender OpenStreetMap will not let us bring in, it will not let us bring in any shapefiles. So that's why we generally tend to use this. So what's happened to our IBC tanks then? There's the IBC tanks. So if I leave this out, let's say I just drop this down, the buildings, of course, are what I wanted to focus on. And now I have them. So I can take these buildings and move them over so that now we have the buildings on the landscape. And as we zoom in there, we can see in front of the buildings, I think I have to change the clipping again. Yeah, change the clipping. So yeah, we have the IBC tanks now in front of the building. So this shows that you can indeed use Blender OSM and Blender GIS. But as I said, normally Blender GIS does provide this information. So that's sort of a bizarre thing, but at least we know that we can work with these two.
خليها تضربك. You want to go out? Yes, take Finn out.
And I guess that's where we'll stop for this one.
Go out. Go out. Go out, Finn. Come. Come out. She wants to go out. Go out. She wants to pee. Yeah, she's pooping.
Yeah.
Did you finish recording?